Hey everyone, welcome back to Walk and Study. Today we will be covering some intermediate and advanced words you are likely to hear or read in the New York Times. All of our examples today come from different headlines that we've taken from the New York Times. While going over these words, we will be walking in the American store Costco. Costco is a warehouse club store that sells pretty much everything. Okay, let's get started. Our first word is variant. Variant is a noun, and it means a form or version of something that differs in some respect from other forms of the same thing or from a standard. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, South Africa says AstraZeneca's vaccine doesn't work well against a variant. So this headline is saying, South Africa says AstraZeneca's vaccine doesn't work well against a form or version of the COVID-19 virus that exists in South Africa. Our next word is stymie. Stymie is a verb, and it means to stop or hinder the progress of something. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, The coronavirus crossroads. The vaccinated, the stymied, and the waiting. This is an interesting headline because the New York Times has taken three verbs, vaccinate, stymie, and wait, and turned them into three categories of people or nouns just by adding the article the in front of each word and conjugating the verbs. So getting back to the word stymied, this headline essentially says, the coronavirus crossroads. Those who have received a vaccine, those who have been stopped or frustrated in their efforts to get a vaccine, and those who are still waiting to hear anything at all about receiving a vaccine. And the headline implies that the article that follows will be about all three of these categories of people. Our next word is refuge. Refuge is a noun, and it means something providing shelter. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, An overnight refuge for homeless New Yorkers lost to the pandemic. So the headline essentially says, An overnight place providing shelter and protection to homeless people in New York City has been lost due to the coronavirus pandemic. Sadly, this article is actually about how the coronavirus has forced the city to shut down the subway system and other indoor public spaces, which has forced homeless people in New York into the streets at night. Okay, our next word is revile. Revile is a verb, and it means to criticize in an abusive or angrily insulting way. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, Wall Street's most reviled investors worry about their fate. So the headline essentially says, Wall Street's most criticized and insulted investors worry about what will happen to them. This article is talking about Wall Street investors who are short sellers, which means they bet that prices of a company's stock will decline and they profit when it does. Our next word is hasten. Hasten is a verb, and it means to cause something to happen sooner than it otherwise would. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, Virus hastens exit from Israel's ultra-Orthodox community. So this headline is basically saying, the coronavirus is causing ultra-Orthodox Jews living in Israel to leave the ultra-Orthodox community faster than they would have without the virus. Our next word is tentatively. Tentatively is an adverb, and it means not definitely or unsure and hesitant. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, Chicago teachers tentatively agree to return to classrooms. So this headline is saying, teachers in Chicago agree to return to classrooms even though they still feel concerned about being in schools and they may still change their minds. Our next word is feud. Feud is a noun, and it means a long and intense fight or disagreement. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, "Feud between Hollywood agents and TV writers comes to an end." So this headline is essentially saying, a long and intense disagreement between Hollywood agents and TV writers comes to an end. Okay, our next word is derail. Derail is a verb, and it means to stop or make the progress of something more difficult. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, "Automakers drop efforts to derail California climate rules." So this headline basically says, companies that make cars have decided to stop their efforts to make it harder for the California state government to create stricter pollution rules for cars. Okay, our next word is shutter. Shutter is a verb, and it means to close something, usually a business. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, "Paris, shuttered, must be reimagined." So this headline is basically saying, experiencing the culture and lifestyle of Paris, which has seen many of its businesses and other institutions closed due to coronavirus, must now be imagined rather than actually lived. Okay, our next word is dim. Dim is a verb, and it means to make or become less bright or distinct. Our example from the New York Times is a headline that says, "Hopes dim for 3 climbers missing in winter K2 attempt." So essentially, this headline is saying, hope of finding 3 climbers who went missing as they tried to climb the mountain K2 in the winter has become less bright or has faded. All right, with that, we've gone over some intermediate and advanced words you're likely to hear or read in the New York Times. I hope this lesson was helpful to you all. As always, subscribe below, give us a like if you found this video useful, and let us know in the comments section what else you'd like to learn about or see in our next walk and study lesson. Thanks everyone. Take care.